Welcome to the Deep Dive, your shortcut to being well-informed. We pack it with surprising facts and hopefully just enough humor to keep you hooked.
That's the plan.
Today, we're embarking on, well, an extraordinary journey. The incredible process of human development. We're talking from a single tiny cell all the way to a fully formed baby.
Yeah, it's quite the transformation.
And for this deep dive, we're actually drawing from a comprehensive medical ebook.
Right, so it gives us a really precise, detailed look at the biological wonders involved. Very accurate stuff.
So our mission today, we want to distill the key stages, those ingenious biological mechanisms, and honestly, the truly astonishing facts that make this whole process a marvel.
And we'll try to keep it crystal clear, engaging without getting lost in the weeds of medical jargon.
Exactly.
And for you, our listener, getting a handle on this intricate dance of life, which really starts way before birth, it gives you such a foundational knowledge for understanding all of human biology. It really highlights the breathtaking precision needed for life just to even begin.
That is beautifully put. Okay, so let's unpack this. Where does this amazing journey truly start? We're talking the absolute building blocks, right? The gametes.
Exactly, the gametes.
How does biology prepare these two unique cells for, their monumental task?
It all kicks off with something called gametogenesis. That's the highly specialized process creating the female gametes, the ova, or eggs, and the male gametes, the spermatozoa, or sperm.
Okay.
And this isn't just regular cell division. It involves meiosis. Think of meiosis as, biology's clever trick for having the chromosomes in each gamete down to exactly 23.
Ah, the haploid number.
Precisely. So when the ovum and sperm eventually meet, the full, correct set of 46 chromosomes is perfectly restored. It's a remarkable setup, ensuring genetic diversity and the right genetic count for a new individual.
Right.
Now, what's fascinating is how differently this happens in females versus males. Oogenesis, female gamete formation, is quite distinct from spermatogenesis, the male process.
How's it?
Well, for females, the primary oocytes, which already have the 46 chromosomes, are actually formed way back when the female herself is a fetus.
Wow.
Then they just pause. They lie dormant until puberty. And typically, only one matures each month after that. And that ovum, it only completes its meiosis, its final chromosome reduction, right at the moment of fertilization.
So it waits until the very last second, basically.
Pretty much. In stark contrast, spermatogenesis in males kicks off at puberty and just keeps going relentlessly throughout life. It's like a continuous production line. Each initial cell ends up forming 4 mature sperm, each carrying 22 autosomes plus either an X or a Y chromosome.
So you've got this, finite, carefully managed reserve of ova on the female side, just one typically released each cycle.
Right.
And then males are just churning out millions upon millions of sperm constantly. I mean, a single ejaculation, you said 35 to 200 million.
That's the range, yes.
The scale difference is huge. Is there, an evolutionary reason for that massive disparity? Does it say something about the biological investment?
Oh, absolutely. It highlights that investment perfectly. Female gametes are big, resource-intensive, finite. They carry not just genes, but also the machinery for those first few critical cell divisions.
Okay.
Male gametes, though tiny, are made in vast numbers simply to maximize the chance that one will reach and fertilize that single ovum. It's a numbers game for the sperm.
A lottery, almost.
You could say that. But a precision operation for the ovum. It underscores the different but equally vital roles. And this brings us right to conception, that critical meeting between the one ovum and the many, many sperm.
Right.
So ovulation usually happens about 14 days before the next period starts. It's orchestrated by hormones, FSH and LH, which mature the ovum inside a little fluid-filled sac called the Graafian follicle.
Okay.
Once that ovum is released, the follicle collapses and turns into the corpus luteum. This acts like a temporary gland, pumping out estrogen and progesterone.
And those hormones are key.
Absolutely vital. They're busy preparing the uterine lining, making it receptive for potential pregnancy.
Got it.
So once the ovum is released, these delicate finger-like things called fimbriae, at the end of the fallopian tube, they gently scoop it up.
Like a little catcher's mitt.
Exactly. And tiny hairs, cilia, inside the tube, rhythmically push it along towards the uterus. Fertilization usually happens in the outer third of the tube, an area called the ampulla.
And the clock is ticking, right?
Very much so.
Yeah.
The ovum is only viable for less than 24 hours after it's released. A really narrow window.
Wow. Okay, so what about the sperm's journey? It sounds like an obstacle course.
It really is. Once they're in the vagina, there's rapid loss. The environment isn't very friendly, but the uterus helps them out. Uterine contractions and chemicals called prostaglandins in the seminal fluid actually push the motile sperm upwards.
So the body helps them along.
It does. And what's impressive is that viable sperm can actually hang out and wait in the female reproductive tract for up to 80 hours.
80 hours, so over 3 days.
Yep. That definitely extends the window for fertilization beyond just that 24-hour ovum viability.
Okay, so millions start the race, but only one wins. Is there some kind of final step? A secret handshake for that winning sperm?
Huh. You could call it that. Before a sperm can actually fertilize the ovum, it needs two final preps. First is capacitation. These are subtle physiological changes, kind of like activating it for the final push.
Right.
Then comes the acrosome reaction. The sperm's head has this cap, the acrosome, filled with enzymes like hyaluronidase and acrosome. Think of them as molecular drills.
Okay.
These enzymes get released and break down the protective layers around the ovum, the corona radiata, and the zona pellucida. They clear the path.
So they dissolve the barriers.
Exactly. They make a path so that just one spermatozoan can get through. And as soon as one penetrates, its nucleus merges with the ovum's nucleus. Boom. You instantly have the restored diploid number of 46 chromosomes.
And that's the zygote.
That's the zygote, the unique single cell. And like we said, this usually happens in that outer third of the fallopian tube.
It is just mind-boggling. All that choreography happening before most people even suspect a pregnancy might have started.
Absolutely.
So from that single cell zygote, things just accelerate like crazy, right? What happens next? This sounds like cellular choreography at its finest.
It truly is. We then enter the preembryonic period. That's the first 2 weeks after conception. The zygote immediately starts dividing rapidly through mitosis. 2 cells, 4, 8, 16.
Doubling each time.
Doubling each time. This solid ball of 16 cells, looks like a tiny mulberry, is called a morula.
Morula. Okay.
Then the morula develops a hollow space inside, transforming into a blastocyst. Now, the blastocyst is crucial. It has an inner cell mass. This is what will become the embryo itself, and an outer layer of cells that will form the placenta and membrane.
So it's already differentiating into different jobs.
Exactly. That specialization starts really early. This morula usually enters the uterus about 2 to 4 days before it actually implants. And by then, the uterine lining is super prepared, rich, and we now call it the decidua.
Decidua, got it.
Then comes implantation. This is where the blastocyst literally burrows into that decidua, specifically the part called the decidua basalis. This usually happens between day 6 and day 10 after conception.
Okay.
And it's typically done by day 10. The best spot for this is usually the upper part of the uterus. It's got a fantastic blood supply for early gas exchange, and the lining there is nice and thick, which prevents the blastocyst from implanting too deeply.
Is that when implantation bleeding can happen?
Yes, exactly. Sometimes, as it burrows in, little light bleeding or spotting can occur. And yeah, it can occasionally be mistaken for a light period.
Interesting.
And also, right around this time, a really important hormone starts getting produced, human chorionic gonadotropin, or HCG.
Ah, the pregnancy test hormone.
That's the one. It's critical because it signals the corpus luteum to keep producing progesterone, maintaining that decidual lining. It's basically the go signal for the pregnancy to continue being supported.
Okay, so once that little cluster of cells is safely tucked in, we move into the embryonic period, right? Weeks 3 through 8.
Correct. 3rd to 8th week post-conception.
This sounds like where the real architectural blueprinting happens. Super intense development.
Absolutely intense. During the embryonic period, cells are differentiating like mad. They're specializing and starting to form all the various tissues and organs. By the end of week 8, all the major body organs are actually present, although still quite primitive.
All of them. In just 5 weeks.
All the major ones, yes. It's incredibly rapid. But here's something really crucial for you to understand, and maybe for anyone listening. This period, weeks 3 to 8, is when the embryo is most vulnerable.
Vulnerable how?
Vulnerable to damage from teratogens. These are substances, certain drugs, viruses, radiation infections, some chemicals that can cause serious structural birth defects. And the scary part is, this peak vulnerability often happens before a person even realizes they're pregnant.
Right, because it's so early.
Exactly. This tiny window is when the fundamental blueprint is being laid down, and it's incredibly sensitive to disruption.
Okay, can you give us a sense of the timeline, like week by week?
Sure, let's hit some highlights. Week 3, you get the formation of the 3 primary germ layers, ectoderm, mesoderm, endoderm. Everything in the body arises from these 3 layers. The central nervous system starts forming with the neural tube, and even the early heart starts developing.
Week 3.
Week 3, week 4. The embryo curls into that characteristic C shape. The brain and spinal cord are growing super fast, and the heart forms its four chambers and actually starts to beat.
A heartbeat at 4 weeks. That's amazing.
It is weeks 5, 6. The brain keeps expanding rapidly. The heart finishes its basic four-chambered structure. Those little limb buds start looking more like paddles. And you just got to see the beginnings of the face and external ears.
Wow.
Weeks 7 to 8. It's mostly general growth and refinement now. The face looks much more human. And by the end of week 8, the embryo definitely have the human form. All the systems are there, just needing to grow and mature. Eyelids form, fingers and toes are distinct. Even the external genitalia start to differentiate, though you usually can't tell the sex visually yet.
It's just incredible. So much happening in such a short, often completely unnoticed time.
It really is.
So after that intense blueprinting phase, we enter the fetal period. That's week 9, right up until birth.
Correct. From 9 weeks post-conception until birth.
And this stage is less about building new things and more about growing and refining.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
During the fetal period, the focus shifts to rapid growth, maturation, and refinement of all those organ systems that were laid down earlier. And generally, the fetus is less susceptible to major structural damage from teratogens compared to the embryonic period.
Less susceptible, but not immune, I guess.
Definitely not immune. Functional problems or growth restrictions can certainly still happen if there's exposure, but the risk of major malformations is lower.
Okay. So what are some of the big milestones during this long fetal stretch?
All right, let's break it down a bit. Weeks 9, 12. The head is still pretty large, but the body starts catching up, growing really fast, arms and legs get longer, and the first fetal movements actually begin here.
Really?
Yeah.
That early?
Yeah. But they're way too faint for the mother to feel yet. The fetus also starts making urine, which adds to the amniotic fluid, and importantly, the external genitalia become distinct enough that you could determine the sex.
Interesting. What about the next few weeks?
Weeks 13, 16. Growth is still rapid. Movements get stronger. And this is often when quickening happens. Those first little flutters the mother can actually feel.
Ah, the butterflies feeling people talk about.
Exactly that feeling. Weeks 17, 20. The fetus gets coated in this cheesy protective stuff called vernix caseosa. And fine downy hair called lanugo appears all over the body. Also, critically, around 20 weeks, the lungs start producing surfactant.
Surfactant. That's important for breathing after birth.
Absolutely vital. It stops the tiny air sacs in the lungs from collapsing when the baby takes its first breaths. Production starts now, but continues to ramp up.
Okay, what about halfway through, say, weeks 21 to 28?
Weeks 21, 28. This is a period of major weight gain and increasing viability outside the womb. Lung maturation continues. The central nervous system develops significantly. If born prematurely now, the chances of survival are much better than before.
Right.
The fetus starts to look plumper, skin gets smoother, and the eyes, which were fused shut, typically open around 26 to 28 weeks.
Wow, they open their eyes inside.
They do. Weeks 29 to term, 38 plus weeks.
Yeah.
Now it's mostly about continued growth, maturation, and getting ready for birth. Lungs become fully mature, ready for breathing air. Lots of subcutaneous fat accumulates, making the baby plump. Usually the fetus settles into a head-down position, which is best for birth. And there are other refinements too, like for males, the testes usually descend into the scrotum.
It's just a continuous process of getting ready for the outside world.
Precisely. Fine-tuning everything.
So with all this amazing development happening inside, what about the support crew? The structures that make it all possible? These auxiliary things must be critical.
Oh, absolutely fundamental. You can't have fetal development without them.
Yeah.
We're talking primarily about the placenta, the fetal membranes, and amniotic fluid, and the umbilical cord. They form the life support system.
Let's start with the placenta. It sounds like a powerhouse.
It really is. The placenta is this thick, disc-shaped organ, and it's unique because it has components from both the mother and the fetus. It handles crucial metabolic functions, transfer functions, and endocrine functions. A true multitasker.
Okay, transfer functions, like what?
Think of it as the exchange point. Gas exchange is huge.
Yeah.
Oxygen flows from mother to fetus. Carbon dioxide goes the other way, all by simple diffusion.
Right.
And interestingly, even though the oxygen level in the blood reaching the fetus is lower than in the mother's arteries, fetal hemoglobin is super efficient.
Yeah.
It grabs onto oxygen much more readily.
Clever design.
Very clever.
Yeah.
Then there's nutrient transfer. Glucose, fatty acids, vitamins, minerals, electrolytes all pass from mother to fetus. Waste removal is also key. Metabolic wastes like urea and bilirubin go from fetus back to the mother for her body to eliminate.
And antibodies too, right? I remember hearing that.
Yes, absolutely critical. Maternal antibodies, specifically immunoglobulin G or IgG, cross the placenta. This gives the fetus passive immunity to diseases the mother is immune to, like measles. And that protection lasts for several months after birth.
That's amazing. A built-in starter kit for the immune system.
Pretty much. And beyond transfer, the placenta is a hormone factory. Its endocrine functions are vital. It pumps out hormones like HCG, human placental lactogen, HPL, estrogen, progesterone.
The ones we mentioned earlier.
Exactly.
Yeah.
These maintain the pregnancy, help the fetus grow, prepare the mother's body for birth and breastfeeding. The placenta essentially takes over managing the hormonal environment of pregnancy.
It really is like a temporary all-in-one organ, the ultimate biological Swiss Army knife.
That's a great way to put it.
Okay, so beyond the placenta, there's the protective bubble, right? The membranes and the fluid.
Right. The fetus floats within the amniotic sac, which is made of two membranes, the inner amnion and the outer chorion. These together form the bag of waters. And inside that bag is the amniotic fluid. It's mostly derived from fetal urine later in pregnancy, plus some fluid transferred from the mother's blood. The volume increases throughout pregnancy, reaching about 700, 800 milliliters near term.
And what does this fluid actually do?
It has so many crucial functions. It's a shock absorber, cushioning the fetus from bumps and impacts. It maintains a stable temperature. It allows for symmetric growth. The fetus isn't compressed.
Right, it needs space.
Exactly. It prevents the membranes from sticking to the developing fetus, which could cause problems. And it provides buoyancy, allowing that all-important fetal movement, which is essential for developing muscles and bones properly.
So it's much more than just water.
Oh, much more. And oocyte. By the way, the amount of fluid is also important. Too little, oligohydramnios, or too much, polyhydramnios, can sometimes signal problems.
Got it. Okay, that leads perfectly to the umbilical cord, the lifeline. But how does the circulation actually work? The fetus isn't using its lungs yet.
Right, that's the key difference. The umbilical cord connects the fetus to the placenta. It usually contains two umbilical arteries and one umbilical vein.
2 arteries, 1 vein. That seems backward.
It does seem backward based on adult circulation. But here, the arteries carry deoxygenated blood and waste away from the fetus to the placenta. The single vein carries oxygenated blood and nutrients from the placenta to the fetus.
Okay. Makes sense in context.
And the whole cord is cushioned by this jelly-like substance called Wharton's jelly, which stops it from kinking or getting compressed easily.
Smart. So how does the blood bypass the lungs?
Through 3 ingenious shunts, temporary shortcuts in the fetal circulatory system. 1. The ductus venosus. This allows a lot of that oxygen-rich blood coming from the umbilical vein to bypass the fetal liver and go straight into the major vein, returning to the heart, the inferior vena cava.
Okay, skips the liver mostly.
Mostly, yes. 2. The foramen ovale. This is a little flap, like a one-way door, between the right and left atria of the heart. It lets a good portion of the blood entering the right atrium cross directly to the left atrium, bypassing the trip to the lungs altogether.
Straight across the heart.
Exactly. 3. The ductus arteriosus. This is a vessel connecting the pulmonary artery, which would normally go to the lungs, directly to the aorta, the main artery leaving the heart for the body. This shunts most of the remaining blood that did go to the right ventricle away from the lungs and into the systemic circulation.
So 3 detours to avoid the lungs.
Precisely. These shunts work together to make sure the most highly oxygenated blood gets prioritized to the most critical developing organs. The brain, the heart itself, the upper body. It's incredibly efficient.
And these close up after birth.
Normally, yes. When the baby takes its first breaths and the lungs start working, the pressure changes in the circulatory system cause these shunts to close functionally within hours or days, and then structurally over the following weeks or months. The whole system reroutes itself for life outside the womb.
Truly an elegant temporary design. Amazing. Okay, before we wrap up, let's touch on something we see more often now. Multifetal pregnancies. Twins. Triplets.
Yes, definitely more common than they used to be, relatively speaking.
Mm-hmm.
The rate of twin births shot up quite a bit between 1980 and about 2014, though it's dipped slightly since. Higher order multiples like triplets also saw a big rise and then a fall.
Any reason for that trend?
Several factors play a role, but 2 big ones are people having children at older ages, which naturally increases the chance of releasing more than one egg, and significantly, the increased use of fertility treatments.
Okay, that makes sense. So are all twins the same?
No, there are 2 main types, and they originate very differently. First, you have monozygotic or identical twins. This happens when one single ovum gets fertilized by one single sperm, forming one zygote. But then, early on, that zygote splits into 2 separate embryos.
So they start as one?
Exactly. That's why they have identical genetic makeup. They're essentially natural clones. Now, depending on when that split happens, they might share a placenta or the inner membrane, amnion, or both. Sharing structures can sometimes lead to specific complications, so these pregnancies are often monitored more closely.
Okay, identicals from one egg. What's the other type?
Dizygotic, or fraternal, twins. This is more common. It happens when the woman releases two separate ovas in the same cycle, and each one gets fertilized by a different sperm.
So 2 eggs, 2 sperm.
Correct. These twins are genetically just like any other siblings who happen to share the same womb at the same time. They always have separate placentas and membranes, though the placentas might fuse if they implant close together.
Are fraternal twins hereditary?
There's definitely a genetic predisposition that can run in families, making women more likely to release multiple eggs. Older maternal age also increases the odds, as does, like we said, fertility treatments that stimulate ovulation.
And what about triplets or more?
Those high multifetal gestations can happen in different ways. Sometimes one zygote splits multiple times, sometimes it's a mix of identical and fraternal multiples, or sometimes it's just multiple separate eggs being fertilized, often due to fertility treatments.
And I imagine those pregnancies are even higher risk.
Generally, yes.
Yeah.
They carry significantly greater risks for both the mother and the babies. Things like much higher rates of premature birth, low birth weight, and increased stress on the mother's body.
Wow. What an absolutely incredible journey we've covered today. I mean, from that first spark, the gametes with their totally different strategies,
Yeah.
through the almost unbelievable precision of those early cell divisions, the blueprinting in the embryonic period, the rapid growth in the fetal stage,
Yeah.
and then the support systems, that amazing placenta, the amniotic fluid, the unique circulation, and even how multiples happen. It really puts the word complex in a whole new light.
It absolutely does. This deep dive, I hope, really underscores the remarkable complexity, the incredible precision, and just the astounding resilience built into human development.
Yeah. Understanding these foundational processes, it's really key to appreciating how life itself unfolds.
It really is. So, thinking about this whole intricate, precisely timed dance cell division, differentiation, organ formation,
Right.
what do you, our listener, find most astonishing about this journey from conception to birth? How does hearing about it in this detail maybe shift your perspective on what it means to develop and maybe the unseen miracles happening constantly?
That's great thought to leave people with.
Thank you for joining us for this deep dive.